Hiya, I'm Marcus from All Ages Airsoft. I'm the gunsmith here, and I'm going to show you how to maintain a gas blowback Golden Eagle M4 DMR. But the same procedure would go very well for virtually all gas blowback weapon systems. First thing we're going to do is check that the weapon is unloaded, nothing up the chamber, obviously no magazine in the weapon, and the weapon is on safe. Next thing we're going to do is remove these two pins. They should be captive, so you will only be able to pull them out, and of course they're not on this one. There we go. So you've now got your lower receiver with the recoil spring, your trigger group, your bolt stop and your front pin. This should also hold your rear pin like that. And of course your stock assembly. You don't need to really do anything with that right now. Now we've got our upper assembly, which is obviously upper receiver, forward assist, charging handle and bolt assembly. So I will now undo the bolt assembly, and out comes your bolt and charging handle. That is the actual weapon system field stripped. Basic maintenance for any of these would be, first of all, give it a good clean. As you can see, quite a bit of grease, bit of dirt. Pieces to keep a lookout for, they do get damaged, is this part here. If that is broken off, your weapon will cycle, but it won't feed any BBs. What can quite often happen with these systems is the bolt is forward, i.e. in the firing position. Somebody fully loads the magazine, wallops the mag in, and what can happen? The BBs act on that and either bend it inwards or snap it off entirely. At that stage, you're looking at a new blowback assembly. So keep an eye on that, give it a good clean. You don't need to use any particular cleaner. Whatever you do, do not use WD-40. That will screw your gun up in a heartbeat. And then also check your inner receiver for, as you can see there, a lot of grease and dirt. Do that. Then do the same with your charging handle. Give it a good clean. Sometimes using a little toothbrush, an old one, will help, like that. Then, oiling. I personally use Magload, when I can find where I put it. Here it is. I found this stuff to be one of the best oils for gas blowbacks. It was specifically designed for gas blowbacks. So on most M4s, you will pull it forward, and you can see we've got a lot of grease and crap on this. So we're going to give that a little bit of a clean, make sure it's free of any heavy dirt or debris, like that. And I'm going to put 2 or 3 drops on the back of this blowback seal, like so. Make sure that is nice and free. If, for whatever reason, you pull that to that position and it jams, you've got a problem. You might need to go further and possibly replace parts. This one's nice and clean, so nice and free, no major issues. Make sure there's no jammed BBs in around the nozzle here, because that will cause your bolt not to be able to lock in and go into battery. The other thing you need to watch out for is on most of the good gas blowbacks. They're very similar to the real thing. This would be, this part with all the carcellated, looks a bit like a carcellated nut, is the barrel extension. On some guns, depending on the ammunition you use, you might find bits of broken BB jammed in between this wall and the hop rubber. That's bad. You need to dig that out because, again, that will stop the bolt from closing properly. So next thing I like to do is just insert the bolt without the cocking handle and just make sure with my finger that that's going in all the way. Good thing to look at, make sure it's level at the back here. If it's sticking out like that, I would be checking the bolt face and the barrel extension for any debris. Another good one to look, just make a note of the chamfer on the front of the bolt. If it's out like that, you have a problem. All right, then I would remove it, put a couple of drops of oil on there. I tend to put more oil on the left hand side because there's more surface contact. You've got the ejection port on your right hand side, so there's a large section with nothing there, but on the left hand side you've got material. So I would put a few drops like that and just smooth it round. Another good thing to look at, if you look here, you can see where the paint has been removed. This is where it's rubbing somewhere in the weapon system. So if you see that, just put, you don't have to go silly with it, just put a nice thin coating of oil on it. Then that's one side. I would put a very thin coat, you don't need much, of oil on this. And that's more or less it. Remember, if you go too heavy on the oil, you can then cause yourself problems, because what essentially happens, dirt and muck from outside, especially if it's a dry, dusty day, can get inside the working action, and if you've got too much oil, it will end up becoming like grinding paste and wear your parts down. So you have to watch out for that. Put your cocking lever, charging handle on top of the bolt like so. This would be the bolt gas piston extension. That would go on there. Slip in, push in. Okay, now that's everything we need to do right now with the rifle as regards to the action. If you want to clean the barrel, be careful, you can damage the hop rubber. So I would take either a standard airsoft AEG cleaning rod, and I would personally, without anything on it, put it, move the suppressor for a second. I personally run the rod all the way down with my finger at the back of the bolt until I can feel that hitting the front face of the bolt. I would then use my finger and come back about an inch and move my finger to that point. I would then use a pen and mark it. The reason why I'm doing that way, I know there I shouldn't be touching the hop rubber. So at that stage, I'd use a little bit of cloth, pop it through like this, pop it down the barrel, and while I'm pushing down the barrel, I'm going to twist like so. until I get that black mark level with the front of the muzzle brake, and then I will extract while I'm twisting. And you can see the muck I've just taken out of that barrel. Now at that stage I would remove that and use another piece. Another way around doing it is, if you're clever and sensible, what you can do is get a gun cleaning kit. And this will do virtually the same thing. So screw it together. Now you will need a .22 furry brush. For the love of God, do not use plastic wire bristles, or even worse, bronze phosphor. They're for real firearms, removing lead and copper from barrels. You don't need it, don't worry about it. Just a standard .22 furry brush. And I would do virtually the same thing. I would mark the position on my rod, and then I would do that 2 or 3 times. I would probably have 2 separate furry brushes. One that I would use for dirt, and the other one I would use after pushing the dirty one down the barrel 2 or 3 times. I would then push a clean one down there 2 or 3 times. That should be the end of the cleaning of the upper receiver and the barrel. It's not rocket science. You have to be a little bit meticulous about it to get it done correctly.
How often should we take the gun apart and clean it and oil it? If we're skirmishing every week.
If it was me, I would be doing this, because gas guns require more maintenance than the real thing. Treat it as if it is the real thing, and after a range day I would be cleaning my weapon. So personally, that is just me. I would be doing this at the end of every day.
You can buy the cleaning kits here, yeah?
Yeah, you can get cleaning kits here, you can get the oil here. We are constantly updating our product list as better equipment comes out. We even now sell roll pin sets to make disassembly of weapon systems easier. Right, for the lower receiver, this is very similar to the real thing. You've got your hammer, you have got your safety catch. This one has been permanently set to semi-automatic, so it cannot go to full automatic, and that way it's legal for higher airsoft velocities. You've got your hammer, you have got your bolt release here, and you've got your 2 takedown pins. So the first thing I'd like to do is release the hammer. You do not ever just release that hammer, because you will smash the front of this unit to pieces. So I put my thumb here, put the weapon on fire, take the pressure up and pull the trigger and release it under tension. So now there's no tension, it can't damage anything. And I would personally give this a visual inspection. And then we find out where I put my glasses. Here they are. So, all I'm looking for is inside here that no springs are broken, although it doesn't make much difference in this particular instance because this is a semi-auto only. This is your full auto disconnector. That's nice and free, don't need to worry. My spring guide is nice and free. There's no cracked BBs in here. That will cause a major problem. And it's relatively clean. This one is. You could use, if you wanted to, break-free CLP or Abbey silicone gun oil and give it a spray. Me personally, I wouldn't. I would just give it, again, a few drops. You don't have to go silly over a few drops of mag load. And in this instance, where we have got parts that move, I would put a little bit in there. Just make sure it's nice and free. Again, pay attention to where you can see parts rub on the working action. Here on the front face of the bolt, obviously, on the back face of the bolt where it engages with the sear, and just put, you don't have to be much, just a little bit, just to help it along. I would also put, if you've got a full auto gun, a little bit of oil and move it by hand on your disconnector. I would cock the weapon, make sure you've got spring tension and that it is free. I would put a couple of drops on your hammer assembly. And then I would again keep my thumb there and make sure that everything is working it is. Then I would just wipe off any excess, like so. Make sure while you're here, make sure your magazine catch is working. At a later date, we'll show you, if you need to, how to extract the magazine catch. For any of you guys who know how to strip the real thing, exactly the same. At that stage, I would then refit my lower receiver to my upper. Is a bit fiddly. There we go. There you go. So your upper is now hinged to your lower. Snap down, push your pin in. Right, now we'll go through a standard function test before we even consider putting the magazine catch in. So I'm gonna pull the bolt back 3 or 4 times, nice and free. Again, pay attention to where the bolt face is sitting. Then put my weapon on safe. I'm going to attempt to pull the trigger. Nothing. Gun is not working. That's what we want. I will then attempt to work the bolt again. Bolt works fine, no issues. Now, I'll put the weapon on safe. Head the gun fire. Great, brilliant. I will keep my finger on the trigger. I will operate the system. You heard the trigger reset. Pull the bolt back again. Right, so I'm happy with that. Now, a quirk of all real steel M16s, bar the HK416 variants, is you cannot put the weapon system on safe unless the gun is cocked. And I will show you right now what that looks like. So, I have the gun on fire. Right, so that gun has fired. Cannot put the weapon on safe. That is perfectly normal. That is the way Eugene Stoner designed the weapon system back in the day when the first M16s were produced, and it's still the day to this, the fact to this day. To put the weapon on safe, the weapon must be cocked. Okay. At this stage, then, I would require a magazine with gas in it to go through a standard checking that your weapon is running. The most important thing with any gas blowback weapon system, any gas gun really at all, bar CO2, this is the key and I'll explain that in a minute, is very simply, always leave some gas in the mag. It tensions all your seals, keeps your seals oiled. If you do not leave gas in your mag, you will be replacing seals on a regular basis. The only time this is different is when you are running a CO2 mag. CO2 is a higher pressure gas, and quite frankly, it's a very dirty gas. When you're running CO2, use all the gas up, remove the CO2 cartridge, and your seals will be fine. Okay, that is the basics of gas blowback maintenance on any M4 platform. Thanks for watching.